Alright, welcome back to the channel here at Aquaponics. It's never too late to improve or too early, seeing as the system is not actually up and running yet, and I'm finding ever new ways to try and build stuff for the system that's not running yet. The point is, this time around I want to try and build a bioreactor. So essentially the radial flow filter filters out all of the fish solids, and what we want to do is, well, I want to go on vacation. I don't want to have to be here to do it. So one of the ways I'm going to do this is I'm going to build a bioreactor or a mineralization reactor, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so first small victory is achieved. I did manage to move the radial flow filter up against the tank. The outlet over to the side still has a little bit of spacing here, and this of course is always the issue when you're dealing with a small terrace in Tokyo. You do not have a lot of space, so you do need to sort of try and make do. Everything's going to look a little cramped. There's really not much for it, unless of course you do a smaller system, but that's not really my style. So radial flow filter off to the side. I managed to get the bucket in place, build a little stand for it. Should be just fine. This will allow me to do the airlift initiated overflow U siphon with a bit of a drop, and even if I do the outlet after demineralization has taken place after about 3 days, it should be high enough that if I skim the top, say 20 liters of this, the bio balls will remain submerged, so you don't kill off the bacteria, while you skim off the clean water at the top, and there's still enough of a drop that will be able to drain either down or into the return pipe, I think. So that's the plan. On to the next step. So it's all just stuck together right now. There's nothing glued yet. So obviously I have an issue in as much as an airlift is going to function a lot better if it's just a straight pipe out. So what I've done is I've tried to avoid having any bends here, but obviously if I need to take this from the center, I do need to do a few bends out to get around this cup. Once it gets to the overflow, actually that doesn't matter. We want as fast a drop as possible. That is what's causing the suction, and that's what's going to keep the siphon running until the water level at this end of the pipe is the same as the water level inside. Hopefully. Now I might need to adjust this a bit, which is why I haven't taken any blurs off. So I'm going to try this a couple of times, see how much it takes out. If it takes out too much, I'll shorten the pipe, and hopefully that will help adjust it. Once I'm happy that everything is working the way it's supposed to, I will glue it all up together, and probably zip tie it all in place so it stays nicely put. But first things first, I'll just show you on the inside what I have is, well, essentially it's like this. So you have a lot of space for debris solids to be sucked in, and I don't need to worry because there shouldn't be any fish in this one. But inside I have a valve, and then I have an air stone sitting there. The air stone, the purpose of the air stone is that it's a constant flow, so I'm hoping that will help. Otherwise, you get the traditional sort of spitting of the water out if it's just normal air bubbles. This will make it more of a flow out. The lift is basically the same. It's just more consistent. There's a bit of a bend on the edge. I hope it's not an issue, but let's give it a go and see how it works, or if it works at all. But my idea was to get the siphon started by pushing up the water first with the and then have that shut off, and then have the drop of this do the rest of the work. To make this work, we now need to do a bit of a bend here, so I'm going to try and add a bend here. Once you have a bend, this is usually what you have on the outlet or the build siphons, is that covers then the whole pipe because the water will splash from both sides, and that closes off the air intake, and that creates the suction that actually initiates most of the siphon effect. So I'm going to try and add a few bends and see if that makes any difference. Let's give it a go. So add the air. The water flowing in. See. seems no amount of airflow is going to be able to initiate the siphon. It will just keep pumping out as you would expect, which is good. If I had thought a little bit clearly about this, I would have probably realized that the amount of air that I'm pushing in, the more air I push in, the more it will pump out, the more it will counter-effect the siphoning effect. So I don't think that's ever going to work. Anyway, tested it out, didn't work, moving on to a different solution. So I'm thinking I could also initiate this by a teeny tiny pump. Maybe that's actually a much better solution. So the problem with that is that whatever you're pumping out, in this case, is a bunch of solids. You obviously don't want that to go through the pump. Hence the idea of having this initiate by a airlift. I'll just keep tinkering and see if I can get this to work in another way. Cheers. I have been thinking about how to solve the problem of auto-initiating a siphon, and it's not as easy as it may sound, because it's not just starting it, it's also stopping it without it having to empty out the tank, seeing as I have to draw up the solids from the bottom of the tank. That also means that whatever I'm siphoning out starts from the bottom, which unfortunately sets the level. Yes, I could put the pipe higher up on the other side, but that makes it a lot harder to initiate the siphon. So it's sort of, every time you sort of seem to have conquered one of the issues with creating a siphon that way, it turns out that there's a different problem associated with it. The way to get around this is perhaps by using a pump, I thought. And so essentially I've tried all sorts of different pumping systems to initiate the siphon, and some of them work, but they won't stop after automatically, or they won't work because the pump is not meant to pump, well, it's meant to pump water up. But if you use some sort of suction, the air pump, obviously you don't want water in that. So what I've done is I've given up on using what I have, and I've ordered a air/water pump, a small 24 volts thing, about this big. It should be able to suck air and have a valve built in, as well as water through this, and it uses the same 6mm tubing as you see in many aquariums and so on. So the idea is, this is like a check valve. Air inside the pipe can escape, but it cannot go back in. So that's going to sit up here, and that's going to initiate the siphoning. That's going to suck out the air. Once this is ready to start, the water level will be here. We'll have to see maybe. That's going to be the starting point of everything, because I'm going to put about 2,000 of these bio balls in. A lot of surface area for the beneficial bacteria to grow in, and it cannot dry out, so they should always be submerged in water. So that's going to be about the starting point, and then I have an air stone at the bottom. That's going to help move everything around the biofilter reactor thingy-majiggy going on here. So when I empty out the clean water, that's going to be until this level. I also build in an overflow, just in case the siphon doesn't break, and I've checked it. It does not overflow here. It just neatly flows into the overflow, back down to the return pipe, so that's not an issue. In order to make the siphon break, let me just put this down. In order to make the siphon break, I've put in an intake here. You can maybe see it. So basically, when the water falls to this level, it'll start pulling in air, and that will break the siphoning. That should fit to be just about enough that it will fill up proper. Once this is up at the normal level, then we will initiate the siphon one more time, and it should fall down enough that it breaks itself. And then we imagine that this will run for, say, a couple of days. I'll turn off the air pump, open the valve once everything has settled at the bottom, and that will release all the cleaner and mineralized water at the top, and then the cycles will repeat. Now I have plans for this, and I'll explain more about that in just a second. Now you'll see this has reached the top level. It's starting to overflow as normal. Siphoning is not in effect, only the air stone. Another thing is, the reason for the cap down at the bottom here is that whatever bubbles flows up will not flow up into the pipe and break any siphoning effect. So that's to protect the bio balls that's going to be in here from falling out, but also the bubbles from actually flowing into that pipe. There you go. That's taken out all the air. That initiates the siphoning. Now we should see, well, you can see the water starting to rise. The big question is, will it equalize before it hits the outlet here? If there's too much water coming in, it may or may not stop here. We'll find out in just a second. Ooh, looks like it's not going to stop. It's not flowing out fast enough. There's a lot of air left in here. Maybe it won't be an issue if the suction pump keeps going though. Yeah, that's probably not going to be sucking enough out fast enough. I think, so this is not glued up yet. I do suspect that air is creeping in and breaking that siphon. I have a mechanical valve that's going to go on the outlet here. That's going to switch on and start emptying out excess until this level. The mechanical valve isn't supposed to stop. And another cycle can begin. Essentially what I've done is I've come to the conclusion, starting this from just a pump, say sucking out whatever is here into here, is not enough of a suction as the water is taken out that it actually initiates the siphon. I need something else. I need an air pump to suck out the air that's in the siphon in order to start it. And obviously you can't really do that with an air pump, and even if you could, the air pump is not going to like, the diaphragm is not going to like being filled with water, so you need like a specialized suction pump for that. I actually managed to find one on Amazon, and it's about 1600 yen, this is what, $16 or something, 24 volt one. I've ordered it, so once that gets here, that will be hooked up here on the other side of this valve, air valve, and that's going to suck out the air and initiate the actual siphon. The air stone is going to turn off after, say, 48 hours, and then it's going to leave it there for something like 20 minutes to like all the whatever's suspended in the water to fall down, settle at the bottom. Then at that point, an automatic mechanical valve is going to open up on this side, and it's going to let all of the clean water that is above this level flow out back into the system, back into the circulation, and all the solids or anything that's not ready to go back and through a pump will hopefully still be captured down here. I still need to time how long it takes to take it out. Once that happens, the valve will shut off again, and the siphoning, the suction pump is going to initiate once again. Probably this is going to happen every 3 days, maybe 2-3 days. And the idea is that to automate all of it enough that I can actually go on vacation without having to worry about it. That's sort of the end goal. I've also made a very simple overflow in case it does, the siphon doesn't break. It'll just go into the return pipe and straight back in. So, without the actual bio bolts in, let's go ahead and give it a try. So, this is a bit, well, it's a bit simplistic, right? So the idea is just that I want to see if I can stop this siphoning. I'm just going to suck out the air that's in the top here, which is what the suction pump is for. Hopefully that will break on its own, and hopefully before it hits the overflow. So let's go ahead and give it a try. There we go. That's the air out of it. You can see it starts. Water level over here is going down. Oh, starting to take in air. Maybe that's a bit too soon. It's getting close. Oh no, actually that's perfect. That's perfect. Excellent. Okay. It's taking in air. Siphoning effect has stopped, as you can see. Let's do this. That's perfect. Actually, it's right before the overflow, so that's absolutely perfect. That couldn't be any better. Okay, so I figured I'd just do a quick end cap. It's just a 20mm PVC pipe. End cap pushed on there. Bunch of holes in it. Alright, so here we go. Essentially, there are about 1,000 bio balls in this. And I've actually ordered 800 more, which may or may not be overkill, but we will see. Oh, that's a weird one. Bag within a bag. It's new. There we go. I'm going to go ahead and add air to this mix. that may not be enough. I might need to add more at some point, but once this fills up with more water, hopefully that will change. So I'm going to go ahead and initiate the siphon one more time. Oh, I better close my valve here. There we go. That's the siphon enabled. It's now in full flow, and you should start to see almost about to cut off, and the siphon breaks, as you can hear. That's it. Yeah, no, that's not right actually. Now, I think we're going to need more airflow though. I don't know. What do you guys think? The idea is to have a moving biofilter here, so obviously the more this moves, I think the better. Now there's quite a bit of bubble coming up, but not as much as I would like. I'd like to see more movement, I think. Yeah, I'm not super convinced by this flow rate. I did put in 2 air stones, and yes, it is moving things along a little bit, but I'd like to see a much bigger airflow, to be honest. I do have a fairly big air pump, and I'm quite surprised that it's not moving more. But yeah, what can you do? Might need to get a bigger air pump in order to move this around more. Once the suction pump gets here, hopefully we'll get everything hooked up, and then we'll get to the timings. And once the timings are in place, I'll be able to do a script that automates everything, hopefully, fingers crossed. So stay tuned for that. It's not 100% done, but I thought I'd just give you a quick update on this. Going through and just rethinking about how many different ways what I had in mind could go wrong, I realized there's a much simpler solution to all of this. So what I decided to do was just have an airlift out from the bottom of the radial flow filter. It's going to be hard to see, but maybe if we do something like this. No, here we go. So that sits in the center. That will lift any solids out that collects in the middle. There's an edge open on all the way around, so it will, anything that's gathered in the middle, that's going to be lifted up and out and over into the filter here. I'll turn on the air so you can see what I mean. So that's fair flow. In the middle we have a suspended bucket with a grid underneath it. That grid prevents any of the bioballs of actually falling into the rest of the bucket, and underneath that sits a big air stone that aerates the bioball and whatever lands in it. So that's sort of, and it's conical shape as well, so most of it is going to be, you know, pushed up and then turned around and around by the air as well as the water coming in. And whatever excess water passes through will slowly hit the overflow here, and I think the retention time in this filter is going to be pretty good actually. But here's the thing, instead of having a suction pump to initiate a siphon and so on, where I thought I would need the suction from the siphon in order to get the solids out, I realized the pumps and the motors, etc. involved with that, it's a much easier solution to simply have a powerful air pump turn on, say 5 minutes, enough to clear out the bottom. I haven't set that up, this just runs off the same backbone with air as the rest, but I could easily set up a timer, let's say, 2 minutes a day, give this full blast, empty out the bottom here, and the air pump shuts off. That's the only thing that needs to turn on or off. No need to do suction, siphoning, anything like that. That builds up. As soon as the air stops, the water stops, the air is going to keep churning this with the bioballs, and yeah, next day when it turns on for 2 minutes, it's going to do the same thing, and whatever excess water comes in, the clean one will overflow. So that's the plan. I think this is a much more elegant solution, but let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll show you the finalized idea of this once I've got the microsolars in place. But I think this is the better of the options. So let me know what you think, and thank you for following along. Please hit like and subscribe if you want to know more, or ask me any questions. Cheers.